So you're an observer from another universe. And suddenly, a scorching explosion flashes before your eyes. Curious, you stay and observe what happens for the next 13.8 billion years. You see planets form, asteroids fly by, species come and go. But then one day, about 2 million years ago, you notice a new species called Homo erectus. You observe them carefully, watch as they discover fire, invent the wheel, nothing out of the ordinary, until one day, this entire species starts to believe in one common story, an idea called money.
Halifax signing for the United Kingdom. Meet in the conference room of Washington's State Department for the signing of the Bretton Woods Monetary.
Now, money didn't require any technological revolutions. Believing in money was just a mental shift, a new twist in reality that allows people to share in this story, this idea. The idea of a way to systematically value one thing in exchange for something else. Throughout several millennia, the story of money evolved. It started off with small communities bartering to entire kingdoms minting metal coins, to the first use of paper currency in China. But it wouldn't be until the 1900s that the United States print their very first dollar that was backed by gold reserves. And it was at this moment that countries around the world started to believe in this new story, this new idea that would soon transform the financial world order as we know it. It was in 1944 when 44 countries signed the Bretton Woods Agreement that established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, ushering in a brand new age of economic revolution. But little did the world know, in nearly 30 years, everything was about to change. It was August 1971 when President Richard Nixon gave the famous speech that sent shockwaves throughout the entire world.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Suddenly, the United States abolished the gold standard, and now instead of the US dollar being backed by lots of shiny yellow metal, it was now backed by the thin air, faith, and trust in the US government. The trust in the Federal Reserve to set up monetary policies that will forever keep the world economy in balance. But it only took a few decades to see that. Okay, let's actually pause here because I don't think many people actually comprehend the true power and influence from being the world's reserve currency. Let's put it this way. New York is the finance capital of the entire world. And if you want to do business here or anywhere in the United States, you need US dollars. And every US dollar transaction feeds through a US clearing system. This essentially means that entire countries, trillion-dollar companies, and even individuals are at the mercy of the US dollar in global trade. Understand this. Never before in history has any empire been able to control the world's financial system with such ease. To have the power to make those who go against it crater to their knees. And the United States can do all this because of one single document. In 2001, President Bush authorized Executive Order 13224, which gave the United States the power to exile anyone they wanted from the global financial system. In 2015, when China tried to free themselves from the dollar's financial grasp, the yuan dropped in value. In 2018, President Trump made a single negative tweet about the Turkish lira, and it lost more than 18% of its value in one day. In 2019, after the United States sanctioned Iran, the SWIFT network, which allows payments to be sent worldwide, banned Iranian banks from accessing it. And shortly afterwards, the Iranian economy tanked. The power of the US dollar cannot be overstated, as the United States can quite literally crumble entire economies if they wanted to. But all that might be about to change. But first, let's jump back to when the United States abolished the gold standard, and the world entrusted the Federal Reserve to keep the global financial system in balance by printing just the right amount of money to keep the economy growing at the right pace. Not too slow and not too fast. But what exactly does this mean? Printing money. It's a really wild concept that you won't truly understand unless you think of it like this. When people like you or me, we write a check, that check won't actually go through unless we have that amount of money in our bank accounts. But when the Federal Reserve writes a check, money isn't being taken from anywhere. There is no bank account that's storing these funds. When the Federal Reserve writes a check, they are creating money. And every time that they do this, the existing supply of money loses value. Every year you can buy less and less with the same amount of money. For example, although your paychecks are now substantially bigger than 40 years ago, your real average income, that is your income after accounting for inflation, barely moved since 1978. But here's the shocking part. We're still thinking too small. We're thinking too domestic. Remember, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, which means nearly every country out there holds US dollars, whether it's in the Central Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, or the Reserve Bank of Australia. And so every time the US prints more money, these countries, their reserves become less and less valuable. And the US government knows this, and they actually love it. They love to take on debt to fuel their consumption habits, to be able to print more money so they can pay back what they owe with cheaper money. But it wasn't until 2020 that shockingly accelerated everything. Because of the struggling economy, the United States became more aggressive in printing new money to fuel its economy and avoid total collapse, to the point where 40% of all US dollars in existence today were printed in the past 12 months. This level of inflation is unprecedented and starts to chip away at the very foundation that holds the US dollar in power. But before we uncover the biggest threats that could lead to the end of this entire empire, I do want to thank the sponsor of this video. One of the worst things that you can do with your money right now is nothing, because the value of your money goes down as inflation goes up. But one of the best ways to escape this painful cycle is by investing in the stock market, which has been one of the best ways to combat inflation over the long term. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with today's video sponsor, Moomoo. For a limited time, you can get a free stock valued from $3 to $3,500 from just opening an account. They'll literally give you just a free stock for signing up. And then you can get another free stock valued from $9 to $3,500 for depositing anything. So in total, you can earn free stocks worth up to $7,000 from just opening an account and depositing anything, even if it's just a few dollars. This is quite literally one of the best sign-up bonuses available right now when you sign up with my link down below. Moomoo is the newest stock trading platform with commission-free trading in the United States. It's got really cool features without being too basic or too intimidating. You can buy stocks, ETF options, the whole shebang. Whether you're a new or experienced investor, Moomoo offers the right customizable features for you. They give you the ability to simply invest, to easily be able to look at a company's financial data, analyst ratings, and all the way to advanced charting and stock analytical tools that will make investing so much easier. Plus, they also have a 24/7 customer support team if you do run into any problems, and also a bunch more features that's really helpful. So make sure you pause the video and claim your free stocks valued up to $7,000 with the link down below. It's basically free money, so you might as well give it a try. Look, the world knows that the United States is in a tight spot right now with its unsupervised monetary policy and endless amounts of money printing. And so as the United States continue to flex its currency muscles by setting up economic blockades and sanctions, there are flashing signs that countries around the entire world are growing tired and are gradually pushing back.
Moreover, as you know, we have substantial gold and foreign currency reserves, which we keep in securities. And the bulk of these securities are dominated in dollars, simply because the market of dollar-denominated securities is the largest in the world. I'm not sure this is a good thing, not because we don't like the dollar, but because it makes us very dependent on the US economy.
This was from 2014, when Russia's Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev talked about reducing the reliance on the US dollar. But this isn't new news. Russia has been trying to distance itself from the US dollar since 2009, when they first called it an unstable currency. But even before then, Russia has been secretly crafting a mastermind plan to reduce the influence of the US dollar, all the way since the 2000s, by stockpiling significant amounts of gold every single year. In just 20 years, Russia went from holding just under 350 tons of gold to owning over 2,200 tons. And at the same time, they've been decreasing the amount of US dollars that it holds. And for the very first time ever, in January 2021, Russia announced that it now holds more gold than US dollars in its reserves. But that's still only the beginning.
Russia out with an abrupt statement. It moves ruble with dollar ruble, ruble stronger. Marvin, I don't know if you've seen it, but Russia plans to cut dollar holdings in wealth fund to zero. What is the symbolism of Russia says we don't want dollars?
In June 2021, the Russian Minister of Finance declared that the National Well-Being Fund, worth $120 billion, will completely divest its exposure to the US dollar, and instead plans to replace it with the euro and gold. All of these gradual steps and announcements are, again, part of the larger overarching mastermind plan, the strategy to slowly chip away at the US dollar's power. But Russia isn't the only one doing this. In January 2021, the European Union sent out a blueprint describing how it can promote the euro and boost its position in becoming the world's reserve currency and be able to compete directly with the US dollar. And it's been gaining massive support across Europe, especially after the United States sanctioned Iran in 2019, which also, as a byproduct, severely punished European banks and companies who have business relationships in that region. But is this enough? Will these two powers have enough influence to overhaul the existing financial order? And the answer is probably not. But there is one last missing piece to the puzzle, a country that could be the ultimate tipping point. But first, if you're enjoying this video, I'd truly appreciate if you could turn that like button into a beautiful green and comment below Mr. Magic Mustache Lamp so I know you guys are the real one. All this would really help out the channel. For the last piece of the puzzle, we'll need to go full circle back to the country that first started it all. The country who is the world's second largest economy. The country who is the world's biggest trading nation. And the inventor of the first paper currency over 1,000 years ago. China. China wants to disrupt the entire currency order, but they know that they most likely won't be able to as long as the US dollar has its financial grasp around the world. China knows that they won't be able to win playing on the traditional playing field because the playing field, the rules, and the game are all run by the United States. So instead, on October 24th, 2019, this happened.
On Friday, Chinese President Xi Jinping stressed the role of the cyber technology in quickening economic development and innovation. He said it's essential to promote related research and core technologies to give China an edge in the sector. Xi believes blockchain can play a key part in the real economy as it helps address financing difficulties and financial risks.
After this speech, blockchain technology became a national priority in China, and a project was launched to digitize their traditional currency by establishing a CBDC, or central bank digital currency. And it seems to be working as China right now is in advanced development stages and is currently testing its digital currency in massive major cities like Shanghai and Guangdong, and plan to use it in the 2022 Winter Olympics. China is leading the world in this digital revolution, and it hopes to push for greater global adoption and ultimately create a brand new playing field with a new set of rules and a new game, in hopes of challenging the US dollar. In the next few decades, it's looking more and more likely that countries will rise up and put more pressure on the US dollar as a world reserve currency. History shows us that just like the fall of the British and Roman Empire, all great empires eventually fall from currency devaluation, power struggles, and governments. Just because the United States set a brand new precedent in global financial domination, it's still only enough to stall the inevitable and not prevent it. It's not a matter of if, but when will the US dollar be pushed aside for the new world currency. Sure, it might take some massive unexpected events, coincidentally happening one after the other, but it's still only a matter of time. However, until that happens, the truth right now is that the US dollar is still very much in control. It's nearly impossible to do anything outside of it, whether you're an entire country, a trillion-dollar company, or just an individual. The US is still the undisputed world reserve currency and still has its hands around the financial world. And you can bet that the United States will not let go without a fight. But there might be something else happening inside the United States that could change everything. Something is festering where the downfall of the US might not require other countries to be involved. Rather, it's something within our own borders that's slowly getting worse. This video will reveal how the middle class is dying and how it impacts you to the point where the entire definition of the middle class has changed.